A little bit more about the earnest money in paragraph 4.3. Again, this will be paid upfront at the time of contract. Back in the day, it was actually delivered with the offer. Today, we typically do an alternative earnest money deadline, which is MEC, mutually executed contract, plus 3 days. And so if we go under contract on a Tuesday, then the buyer is going to have until Friday to deliver that earnest money. So that's typically it's delivered either good funds. Some folks are going to require that it's either a cashier's check or a wire. Often it's a personal check. It will be cashed, however. So this has to be actual money. And then is 4.3.2 talks about the return of the earnest money. So again, as we talked about all those objection deadlines in the date table, if the buyer finds some actual reason to cancel the contract based on one of those inspections or reviews, then that earnest money would be returned. And so that's defined there in 4.3.2. In 4.4, we talk about the fact that at closing, the buyer's going to need good funds. So again, either a wire transfer or a cashier's check, and then the loan would also be wired typically from the lender. Because again, once we close at the table, it is finalized, and so there's no right of rescission as you have in some states where a buyer could change their mind after the fact. So in 4.4.2, the buyer is basically swearing in this contract as they sign it that they do or do not have the funds available today to complete the transaction. So if they do not, typically the reason behind that would be a contingent sale. They've got to sell their home before they actually have these funds. But it's important to make that clear here in the contract. And then 4.5 talks about the new loan. Will it be conventional, FHA, VA? This is important from a seller's perspective because they want to know how likely the buyer is to be able to close the transaction. And so the different loan types are going to have different implications from that perspective. And then 4.6 and 4.7 talk about assumption and seller or private financing. So those are different vehicles to buy a home. And we're not going to talk about those in specifics in this contract review. But again, I can certainly answer those questions if you have them. Thanks. I'm going to come back next time and move on to some of the transaction provisions. All right. Thanks.